Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this narration of the web series The Survivor Becomes the Dungeon, taken from r/h/y. If you are new to the series, there is a playlist listed in the description, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 2. So, I can talk to animals now. At the very least, this mama cat. That's cool. Well, it isn't exactly talking, but more of an understanding. Whatever I did brought her back to life and connected her to me. I even feel the budding sensations of thought coming from the runt of the litter, who is seemingly more energetic than the rest of its siblings. I wonder, is it really air that I've been breathing? I know the term breath of life, but it felt more like my very strength was being sapped when I helped the mama cat and the cub. I breathed a little more, purposely taking a bunch of big gulps. I actually feel like a little lightheaded, somehow, and that is a truly odd sensation with no head. Though before I can feel anything else, I begin blowing, giving the special air to the other cubs and even more to the mama cat. Now, instead of a lightheaded, I feel drained and sluggish for a while more, which again was a glorified pebble. Really feels sort of strange. Looking at the cubs, they're all muting with life, which is an overall improvement from earlier. I'd say their coats were all fuller and even slightly glossy. The mama cat was the real turnaround. Even as I watched her, she had begun to fill out and looked as if she had always been her healthy big cat, rather than a pitiful emaciated thing that came earlier. Sometime later, mama cat gets up, leaving the now sleeping and full kittens to rest. Surprisingly, she pans over to my pebble, leaning in and sniffling at me before touching me with her forehead, rubbing against the ground and flopping to the ground with a huff. She seems really happy and appreciative. After a few more moments, she gets up and starts heading out of the cave. As far as I can tell, she's going off to get something to eat, which is fine by me, of course. Now, I'm all alone, alone with 4 sleeping cubs. Really, they're somehow even more adorable now that they're healthy, happy, and stuffed. Here's where I'm starting to realize that I may not be home anymore. While mama cat's fur had a deep ebony black luster, these kittens all have different colored coats. The runt is slate gray, maybe a shade of black, and the other boy cub is a distinct reddish-orange. Of the 2 girl cubs, one is almost cloud white, while the other is quite literally a sky blue. I'm not sure how else to put it. I'll be the first to admit I'm not all too familiar with animals, but natural genetics don't work like that, right? What is even more confusing is that all 4 have a distinct ring around their right ears, almost the exact shade of my gem, and I can't help but wonder what that means. 3 hours later. The sun is going down outside, when suddenly I'm hit with a wave of warmth and energy. At first, I'm worried that one of the cubs died somehow. But then images flash before my metaphorical eyes of mama cat running down and killing a white-furred speckled deer of some kind. So yeah, that was surreal for sure. Looking around, I can see my bubble has grown just a little bit more, whereas my pebble is now more along the lines of a chunky marble. So, that's also good news. The cubs are up and about, surprisingly enough. Their eyes are already open, which doesn't seem right, but who am I to question a cub when they can or can't open their eyes? They're not very fast, but watching them saunter and amble around just makes my imaginary heart flutter. They're so adorable. The group of them explore the small section of cave, and eventually they make their way around to me. I admittedly am a little nervous. Outside of mama cat, my gem hasn't been interacted with before. It isn't long until they've set upon me, and I really had no reason to worry as they gently bat me around. The cubs amble slowly, but are surprisingly mobile for having been born mere hours ago. What I do notice, however, is that my bubble moves with me, and it looks like I remain in the center of it, no matter where I go. The cubs tucker themselves up before long, forming a pile of fluff over my marble that just makes me wish I still had hands to ruffle them up. I was just watching over the cubs some more when I sensed something enter my bubble. That's a big fecking snake. What do you think you're doing here? Get the feck out. You don't belong here. Hey, stop getting closer. I see you eyeing these cubs. Back the feck off. Hey, it's not stopping. the big fecking tongue flicking in the air as I know it's already tasting the cubs. No, you don't. Mama Cat, get back here, quick, your cubs are in danger. The snake isn't stopping. Why is it here now? Get away, don't! The fecking snake is already rising up, and a low hiss emanating from it as it gets ready to snap. No! Suddenly, there's a flash of movement, and I am feeling drained before a huge amount of warmth and energy begins flooding my system. I force myself to focus on what's happening when I see the spears made out of stone from the cave walls and floor sprung out, skewering the serpent right through its open maw and along the length of its body. Did I do that? End of chapter. Chapter number 3. These cubs have no idea how close they came to being snake food, still blissfully dozing in a fur pile. This is the stark contrast to the 9-foot-long silvery white serpent that's been skewered through the mouth and body, its head slowly sliding down the length of the spear with a sickening but quite squelching sound as the weight of its head brings it to the floor. That's another thing. I made those spears, didn't I? To think I'm able to do stuff without a body. I wonder what else I could do. I don't get a hold onto these thoughts for long as Mama Cat storms in. Her steps are silent despite the apparent speed and power she's exuding. She doesn't even look tired as she steps beside her cubs and me, and I feel anxiety just oozing from her as she looks over the situation. However, she relaxes soon enough, nosing her cubs and my gem with her myrrh. That's right, Mama Cat. Sorry for worrying you. It seems I was more useful than I thought. She looks things over a little more with a huff before deciding to head back out. Apparently, she intended on bringing her kill back to the cave so that she could eat in peace. Fine by me. Don't take too long. All right, so that warmth and energy I've been getting are essentially the same as the air I've been breathing, as far as I can tell, just from the different source and concentration. Can energy be used to strengthen animals, heal them, or even bring them back to life? With that thought crossing my mind, I look back at the giant fecking serpent still skewered in my cave. I'm still angry with it. But then again, it is just an animal, and I shouldn't blame it for its nature. The more I watch the snake, the more I get the odd feeling about what I'm about to do, words forming in my mind with the intent for it. Staring down at the face of the dead snake, I begin to focus some more as I direct part of my energy I got from it back to them, but only a fraction of it. Ururu, my now golf ball-sized gem, convulses with a burst of light, and despite me trying to restrict how much energy was going into the serpent, it took a little more than after I named it. What comes next is an odd sight, to be sure. The serpent corpse starts to sag and deflates in a way as if its insides are hollowed out. After a few minutes, there is movement around the head of the serpent before Ururu bursts out of what now looked like a shed skin. What was once a 9-foot serpent is now a 3-foot snake. Instead of the silvery scales he had before, he now has an intricate array of nearly pearlescent white scales and scales that look obsidian black. On Ururu's head scales was a pattern of emerald green diamond. His eyes were originally as silver as his scales, and while one eye still is, the other adopted the same emerald green as my gem for whatever reason. Looking at him now, he seems rather charming compared to earlier. His tongue flicks as he rests in a coil. Thankfully, he has no hard feelings about how brutally he went out earlier, but seems grateful for his newfound awareness and intelligence. Now, almost politely, he excuses himself to find something to eat as he slithers out of the cave. Well, that was a surreal experience and a half. What else can I do? My intention wanders around my bubble of influence, which was practically doubled, at least from where I am. I can see near the cave entrance and the back of the shallow cave itself. My curiosity is piqued, and I take in my surroundings again before going up to the wall and reaching out as I try to picture what I want to do. Gradually, I feel energy leaving me, but at the same time it's being replaced by ambient energy in the air I'm already absorbing. Before me, a neat rectangle is carved out of the wall, the stone vanishing into thin air. Yet it feels like I'm carrying it even now. Maintaining my focus, I pull several more bricks from the wall, the material vanishing to wherever I am keeping it. Now with the materials in hand, I go over to another part of the cave and begin setting out the stone. Still, instead of laying them out as bricks, I try shaping the material, the rocks being formed like clay in my metaphorical hands as I build myself a crude-looking spear of the size of a basketball, the surface rough and unpolished. Experimentally, I strike at it with my energy. The stone cracks into multiple pieces as it crumbles into a heap. Ha! That took more power than outright pulling than shaping the stone. As I'm mulling over these new things I've learnt, Mama Cat returns, dragging the corpse of the white-furred deer animal she hunted earlier, settling between where the cubs were and the mouth of the cave, seemingly standing at guard while she digs in. I should probably name you as well, now that I think about it. I name you Basti, my right hand and second in command. As my first real ally in this world, I put my trust in you. My gem convulsed with a shimmer of light again, and I could feel myself being drained again as another portion of energy poured into Basti. She develops further to the point where I can confidently say she's probably an ideal specimen of her species. She's now longer in her build, yet sleeker to balance her speed and strength. She stops eating, noticing what's happened to her as her tail swishes. Basti is now looking at me with a new awareness and intelligence. Strangely enough, one of her slate-grey eyes is also emerald green. Her gaze now has a feeling of some reverence as she bows her head slightly before going back to her meal. For now, the nights go on as I begin to practice manipulating my surroundings. Random bursts of energy come over me as Ururu hunts throughout the night. End of chapter.
I would quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and Patreons. Casper Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Barky, Lord Azrekahl, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Dragzoon W.R.E, Holly's Sister, Arcadian. Thank you very much.